Welcome back to another episode of Ask 360, where we are answering all your health and fitness related questions. I have on today Oisin Bartland, one of our wonderful trainers at Club 360. Welcome to the show, Oisin.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We've got a question today from one of your fellow country people, Siobhan. And Siobhan asks, what is your advice for return to exercise following COVID? Obviously, this is a really relevant topic. It's something that's going to be more and more sort of relevant as more people return to exercise after being infected. Oisin, I know you've done a bit of sort of continuing education in this space, and you've got some really good advice to share. So perhaps if we just sort of take the person who has a fairly mild dose of COVID, and then they feel relatively normal after they recover, what would your recommendations be around return to exercise for that type of person?
I think, well, it's hard to know for anyone. Like, you don't know how you're going to react to it. So I think the best advice is to just be conservative with it and take it slow. So you don't want to push to levels of fatigue straight away. So like taking it slow, like some core exercises and some walking at the start. Just keep yourself well below your limit. And then you want to just track that over how your body reacts over the next 24 to 48 hours, because some of these more severe cases, it's not the day of, or it's not during the exercise that you might have the problem, but it's later on, a day later, 2 days later, where you really get affected by it. So for most people coming back, I'd say just take it slow and gradually progress it. So just increase your time walking, then to jogging, then to running, just your basic kind of gradual return. But just don't push it too hard too soon. And I think that 24 to 48 hours is the most important thing. So after the first session, don't push it, see how you feel the next 2 days. And then it's usually, you can just progress it from there. I think one of the key things is some of the more severe cases might not present straight away. So you can feel like you're fine for a while, and then after like a couple of weeks or a month even, you can start to get worse. And from there, you have to really be careful with what you do and your levels. But for most people, it'll be fine. You're just, once the symptoms of COVID have subsided, I think you're pretty much safe to go back. You just want to be careful with how hard you push yourself in that first few sessions.
Yeah. And what are the things to look out for? I mean, what would it be, like a sense of malaise or fatigue, headache, increased sort of muscular soreness above what one would usually expect on a return to exercise? Are there any other things that people should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, the physical ones are the most obvious ones, I think. Obviously, even if you go back perfectly healthy after a while into the exercise, you're going to get a bit of muscle pain. But it's more the mental side, the cognitive side, I think, as well. So what they call brain fog.
Yeah.
Not being able to concentrate, not being able to find words for something, or just some general kind of, obviously the fatigue one is probably the most common symptom.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that kind of brain fog, breathlessness, and like heart palpitations, stuff like that can be common as well.
Yeah. It's almost something similar to a return to activity protocol following concussion. Sort of watching out for some of those similar symptoms.
Yeah, like some of the people I've heard speak on it have been like neurological experts.
Yeah,
and they're saying the crossover between those kind of concussive injuries can be very similar to what people see from like long COVID and stuff.
For sure. So I guess, moving on to long COVID. So like you said, the majority of people should recover from a bout of COVID without any issues and be able to get back to physical activity relatively easily and quickly. We do know that this long COVID is an issue that is affecting people, and it was sort of grouped in with a family of conditions, called that post-exertional symptom exacerbation or post-exertional malaise, which sort of is traditionally included things like chronic fatigue syndrome and myalgic encephalitis. What's a sort of typical timeline for something like long COVID, and how does it impact people?
I mean, the problem with this kind of thing is the research is very fresh. Like it's only been known for like a year or that. So just trying to get some of the information, like you're not going to get that kind of long-term research into it. So a lot of it is anecdotal evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the best resources I've seen has been just coming from physios who suffer from long COVID.
Yeah.
And they're just describing how they're living with it and what they're trying to do to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the good thing is that there is like ME and chronic fatigue syndrome can present very similarly. So, I mean, you can't say it's exactly the same because you don't know yet. But at least there's been a lot of research into that area, which you can kind of use for the long COVID patient. So with like post-exertional symptom exacerbation, it's just an adverse reaction to an activity. And that's not just like exercise. It's not like running or lifting weights. That could be getting a shower or sitting in work, just doing your normal job, something that takes some like mental strain that can wipe you out for like a few hours, few days kind of thing. So it's just a completely adverse reaction to like some very small daily activities that you used to be able to do easily, but now you have to be careful with how far you go with it. But these kind of things can happen after like 6 months. And can last. I mean, there's people, it's hard to say how long it could last. With ME and CFS, they're saying nearly 75% of people might not return to levels that they have been at before. They don't know if that's the same with long COVID. Like maybe long COVID won't be as serious, but the people that are talking about it now, so the people that are suffering for it, they're still experiencing it a year and a half after. So there's no real timeline that you can put on it for how long it would take to get better or get back to previous levels. So it's a difficult one to put a recovery timeline on because we just don't know really.
Yeah. And is it affecting different age groups differently? Like, is it more prevalent in older people, the long COVID?
It seems to be more common with women than men for now. I'm not sure about the age group, to be honest.
Yeah.
How much affects, obviously, with the effects of COVID in general, it doesn't seem to affect kids as much as it affects adults. But I think the most common numbers I've seen is being that women are more affected than men with long COVID.
Yeah. And so then what might a gradual return to, we don't even call it a gradual return to sport or even a gradual return to activity, it's a gradual return to function. What might that look like for someone with long COVID?
Well, this is a thing that people are trying to be careful about because obviously when we're dealing with normal injuries, it's about a gradual return. Okay. So gradually increasing your activity level, gradually increasing whatever exercise you're doing, making it more difficult, making it longer. But with this, they're saying that it might not be a good idea. What they're saying with this is basically they have a stop, rest, pace guideline. So stop trying to push your limits is the first one. So don't push to fatigue. Leave yourself some room, some energy at the end of the exercise or at the end of the day. Rest, but for most people, you would rest when you're tired or rest when you feel like you've had a hard workout, you're going to take a rest now. But with this one, it's being more proactive with your rest. So take a rest, even if you're feeling okay. Just kind of keep it in there, take an hour or whatever during the day, and just do nothing, take a nap or whatever, but be proactive with it. Don't wait till you actually feel tired to take a rest.
Sure.
And then pacing yourself. So I think pacing is one of the most important things, where you really need to try plan out your day, plan out your activities, and not just like your physical, but your cognitive activities as well. Just to be able to make sure that, okay, I need to do this today, so I should take it easy now, so I'll have energy to do that. The pacing part of it is probably, I think it looks like the most important part, just being able to kind of find those patterns in your day. So they tell a lot of people to do, keep a diary of what you do. Okay. And basically I took a shower. How did that feel? How hard did that feel? How did I feel after it? And basically put a number or a color to that. And then if you fill that out during like each day and over the week, then you can try to see patterns in, okay, this activity really wipes me out. So maybe I should either modify that, make it easier for me, or take it slower and stretch it out, or just modify it in some way to make it easier. And this activity is fine. So I'd feel okay after doing that. So maybe I can like do more or just keep that the same. But it's about noticing that those patterns during the day and during the weeks that you can really kind of hone in on the stuff that really affects you, and you can modify that in some way or take that out. I think one of the big things is with the pacing is to learn to prioritize what you need to do. So for some things, it's going to be unavoidable. Like you have to do some things. So just knowing that, okay, this is coming up this week or this is coming up today. So I really need to do this. So maybe around that, I can plan to have some rest and just like take a break before and after. And then just being able to put in stuff that you enjoy as well. Yeah. So not just prioritizing like your work or whatever, something you have to do, but put in something you want to do as well. So make some time to actually be able to do an activity that you enjoy, because it can be a pretty debilitating problem for people. So you don't want to be stuck in a scenario where you can't do anything that you enjoy and you're just struggling through a day kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's a really useful information. I think that the pacing is, is so important, and it's, I mean, in principle, it's not, the theory isn't so different from the way that we would progress, but it's just at a far slower rate. And just with, I guess, a lower threshold for exacerbation of symptoms.
Yeah.
Any other?
People need to kind of try to realize the warning signs early, and then just be able to take that rest. So, it's something like coming on, like, oh, I can't catch my breath as easy, or like, oh, my heart's like pumping, or I'm just like, don't feel right. But it's going to be very, very individual. So each person is going to be very different. So I think when you're working with someone, like working with a physio or like rehab professional, I think it's about honing in on that individual person's symptoms. So when I know I'm about to crash, I feel like this the day before or whatever, but between two people, that's going to be very, very different. So it's just working out very individual plans for each person, and they have to be able to realize and recognize what's happening, as much as like we can give advice to people, but we can't be with them 24/7. So I think it's more about educating and getting them to like realize and pay attention to what symptoms are coming along and how they can modify something, or how they can really like counteract those kind of symptoms.
Sure. Are there any other points that you think people should be aware of when it comes to your return to activity after long COVID or long COVID in general?
Yeah, I think with more like people get very down on themselves when progressions aren't quick. And I think with this kind of thing, you have to realize it's a long haul. Like originally, some of the names for long COVID was long haulers. So it's just something that is going to be dragged out. It's going to take a long time, but you need to really focus on the accomplishments that you had. So like, okay, I'm able to do this now. I wasn't able to do that. It might be very small progressions, but it's still, you have to focus on the good instead of the bad with this kind of thing, because it is going to be a long-term issue. I think as well with progressing exercise for if you're or if you're not suffering from long COVID, but heart rate monitoring seems to be a good way of keeping like an objective measure on what you're doing. So you don't want to always leave it to feeling, because that would be very kind of individual. But with a heart rate monitor, at least you can say, okay, I'm going to keep it below this beats per minute. Like I'm going to keep it within like 15% of my average weekly heart rate, and then just take it from there. At least have a number on that, and then you gradually try to progress it. But as I said, be very conservative with how you progress it.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe don't try not to take it up above a certain heart rate. Maybe just try keep it at that heart rate and go for longer or something like that. But yeah, just be conservative with it. But I think heart rate monitoring seems to be a good way of kind of tracking your progress.
Yeah. That's a really useful, practical tool to have some objectivity with how you're progressing something that is really inherently quite subjective to monitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think as well with the starting off point for exercise, just the core exercises are a good way to do it. So progressing core exercises from supine, lying on your back, to like kind of just a normal kind of progression, but a lot slower progression. So on your back, core exercises can be good. Just kind of lying down, moving your arms, legs kind of thing. Just very, very mild, easy kind of exercises. Don't push it too hard. But the other thing that seems to be good are breathing exercises.
Yep.
So progressing them from lying on your back to lying on your front, sitting, standing. I think there's been really good resources on it's a website called Long COVID Physio. And these are the people who are living with long COVID. And as I said, it's anecdotal evidence, but it's what they feel is working for them or what they think might work. I think that's a really good resource for people if they want to look into it. But we'll attach that link. And also there's a link for like good breathing exercises that you can do. And that'll just talk you through how to do it.
Excellent. Any other advice while we've got you?
I think that's about it. Maybe just returning to work as well. When talking about it is another thing that can be really difficult for people. But I think what you need to find is something that can be very flexible. So your day needs to be really flexible with this kind of thing. Because as I said, you don't really know when it's going to hit. So at least for now, with a lot of people, you can work from home and stuff like that, which makes it a bit easier. But you can't underestimate the cognitive side of this. That just the brain power of doing it every day, like your normal working day, can be really difficult. So I think it's best to even like explaining to your boss what this is and maybe some information about, okay, look, this is what I'm suffering from. It's not just that I'm tired and stuff. Like it's a bit more serious than that. And just being able to get that kind of flexible routine and kind of maybe if you need to even go into part-time hours for a time, and build it up from there. But I think returning to work and return to exercise would be a similar obstacle for a lot of people.
Sure.
Uh, So yeah, it's just about being careful and being flexible with that.
Yeah. Okay, with some fantastic advice there. Obviously, if you are trying to return back to activity and you're having some trouble, please do see a medical practitioner, a health professional, or feel free to come in and talk to one of us. But otherwise, thank you, Lachine, for your time, for sharing your knowledge today, and thank you everyone for listening.